Hello, book fans. Happy Friday. Today, I want to take a step forward in time many, many years. I think it's probably several hundred for this next book. We're entering the future with this dystopian thriller called The Testing, and it's by Joelle Charbonneau. If you like the Hunger Games series, then this book series will be for you. The Testing is actually the first book in a series, and there's 3 books in total. This is the first one. The second one is called Independent Study, and then the third one is called Graduation Day. I've read all 3, so we'll review all 3, but I want to start obviously with the first one first for obvious reasons. This one, though, I will say, this book series as a whole is almost the exact same as the Hunger Games book series. So take that for what you will. Take it with a grain of salt. If that's not the kind of book series that you're looking for, then you might as well just move on now because it's almost a carbon copy of that. This book starts off painting a pretty bleak picture of what they referred to as the 7 stages of war. Basically, war has left the world a radioactive wasteland, and most of it is uninhabitable. But the people in the book are the citizens of what's called the United Commonwealth, which is really just United States, but they renamed it after the collapse of the original government. And the people in the colonies, which were basically the states, are working hard to basically revitalize the land. They're trying to make it so plants grow. They're including irrigation systems. They're trying to re-engineer electricity. And obviously the whole point to this is so the people can survive. So the main character, her name is Malencia Vale. And Sia for sure. They call her Sia in the book an awful lot. So she's basically chosen as one of these candidates in this thing called the testing. And when the book starts out, she's overeager to basically prove that she's intelligent and she can contribute to the Commonwealth as a mechanical engineer. She's very electrically gifted in that sense. Electronics and fixing things are definitely her forte. She would make a great mechanic. But basically, before she's set to leave for the testing, her dad, who's already been through the testing in his youth, warns her that it's super dangerous and told her don't trust anybody. And then she sets out from the testing with 4 people from her colony. A cute, cheesy romance plot here with one guy from her colony named Tomas. Saw that coming a million miles away, and he's part of the 4 that leaves to go to this event called the testing. With that being said, I didn't give any secrets away. I want to talk about this book as a whole and why I basically think it's the Hunger Games rewritten, just with different futuristic character names. It's really the same thing. I hate to just jump right into the negative, but it is. And the key points I want to cover, there's 3 that'll make you say, oh, wow, basically this is Hunger Games 2.0. The first is the fact that there's a massive war, and it has basically desolated the country and the government has collapsed. Sound familiar, right? And this is basically your average dystopian society that's just trying to survive after the collapse of society in the aftermath of nuclear fallout. I will give them that they do a pretty okay job of explaining to you why the 7 stages of war happened, but if you want a really in-depth explanation and kind of a history lesson as to the why, you're really not going to get that here. Just don't even go looking for it. Basically, it's insert assassination plot to trigger the war, and World War starts. And I mean, come on. Sounds really familiar, right? Basically, you're borrowing the concept from World War II. You're not even inventing the wheel here. Let's be real. And the theme of government is always watching. Big surprise. I mean, you can't go anywhere without being monitored and tracked. Your privacy is 0. You step out of line and basically you're dead. You're listed as a traitor to the government and they hunt you down. Every book A dystopian book is like that. The government is always corrupt. You have poor, awful, heartless people who just say they're doing it for the good of the country, but really they're just killing people because they're power hungry. Boy, sounds familiar, doesn't it? And lastly, the third thing, battle royale fight. I mean, here, cue the Hunger Games. Basically, the testing is a fight to the death or fight for your life, just like that. Fail a test, you might be dead. Make the wrong choice, you might disappear. And where do the disappearing testing candidates go? Nobody has a clue. If that's not just basically the Hunger Games and the Quarter Quell and stuff like that, I don't know what is. What I did like, though, I did like the main character, Sia. She was likable enough. She really didn't get on my nerves like Katniss did in the Hunger Games. Anyone else with me on that? I thought Katniss was just whiny and annoying, and I did not like her at all. Sia, I felt, was smart, self-sufficient, and able to think really quickly on her feet. A better heroine to root for, even if it feels like we've definitely read this before. And I do give this author an A+ for descriptions and imagery. While I was reading this book, I really did feel like a movie was playing alongside in my head. I could picture the things and the events as she was describing, and that alone kept me interested in reading this book until the end. I'm actually not sure if I would have finished it if the descriptions hadn't been so amazing. The amazing descriptions kind of helped the so-so suspense. Because the descriptions alongside the decent bit of suspense really kind of made you picture what was happening, and it got me invested in it. I wanted to read it to the end. However, there's still things I have to critique. And the biggest thing, like number one thing, is the unnecessary romance between Sia and Tomas. Did not need that in the book. There's no foundation of romance for these characters, and no foundation of just them really at all. In the colony, they barely speak to each other, even though they go to school together their whole lives. They're not really friends, they don't hang out, and yet you're just supposed to believe that when their lives are on the line, she's just gonna blindly trust this guy. Now, the author does a really great job of showing Sia's personality and resourcefulness, because they really make it feel like she's excellent at reading people. And I guess with that, we're just supposed to assume she sees Tomas as safe because she's supposed to be an excellent judge of character, but I don't buy it. It just seems super forced. I think if you would take the romance plot out of this book, it doesn't hurt the overall story at all. Like, the story doesn't suffer, then you don't need it. It's just unnecessary. But lastly, this book, and you guys, I really wanted to love it, but it's too much like every other dystopian thriller that you're going to read. In my opinion, it's probably evident by now if you stayed to this point, no one is going to say that this book series is something that they have to read. If they're going to go pick up a dystopian thriller, let's be real, they're going to read The Hunger Games. And I think because of that, this book just lacks heart. It's superficial and formulaic, especially in this kind of genre. Main character is pretty decent to get behind, but even her, she doesn't make you fall in love with her. If I'm going to read a dystopian book, what's the point if you're not getting me to get behind the main character? I need to root for them and want them to survive. And if you're not giving me that, you're not keeping me invested in the book. Why would I even continue? So for that, I have to give this book 2 hearts. Yeah, okay, it's a solid dystopian book, I'll give it that. But my recommendation, honestly, don't read this book. Don't read this book unless you've already read The Hunger Games and Divergent both. As I said, I find Katniss super annoying, but that book series is better written. And if you need a character, or you want a character that you want to get behind, and I mean, of course, who doesn't? Who doesn't want a character that they're going to care about? Then Divergent is for you. Divergent has a main character that you're really going to love. If you've read those two book series, you'll appreciate this for what it is, but don't expect to be wowed by it when you're done reading it. Of course, if any of you have read this book and have opinions on this book, I'd really love to hear them. Chat about it with you guys. We don't get to chat about the books, and I really want to hear your opinions. But until then, we're on to the next read, so I'll see you soon.